I'm Dawn. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for visiting with me today. So, there's a channel I watch called Possessed by Horror. She's delightful. I just love her. She's so cute and just so, I enjoy watching her videos, but she talks about horror movies and she's great. I really like her a lot. I highly recommend her channel, Possessed by Horror. But she's recently done a video, her own Horror Iceberg. I think hers was focused on movies that disturbed her or disturbing movies. So I decided, and she said in it, do your own iceberg. So I thought I would, I'm going to kind of steal her idea. And I think I'm kind of stealing her iceberg too. I think it's the same image she used for her iceberg, but we will see. So there are horror icebergs out there, like the original horror iceberg, which is way more intense than mine is going to be. I'm going to tell you that right now, because my horror iceberg, it starts off super soft, because I'm basing it on that movie when I originally saw it. And some of these movies I watched as a child. So, and I had to take a lot off of it because I had more than 120 movies on here at one point, and now it's almost 40. Maybe it's a little more than 40. But I'll tell you, movies I removed was Psycho. I can't even remember what movies I removed. So I was very young when I saw Psycho. And people may be like, that's not disturbing at all. And I get that. I understand. But please understand where I'm coming from. I'm sharing these based on how I felt when I first saw it. So, but there were a lot of movies that were on it that I took off just in the essence of saving space, because, I only have so much room to type in my iceberg. Hi, Brian. Hi, Tina. The dogs love it when I sit on the floor. Hi, guys. Give me a break, okay? So we're going to start with, and I know some of y'all might watch this and be like, oh, that wasn't scary. That wasn't even gross. What are you talking about? Again, I'm basing it on how it made me feel when I first saw it. So it's going to seem like a really mild list. And another thing about it is the iceberg, the original iceberg, or what I think was the original iceberg that I was looking at, had movies on it that either I'd never heard of or I looked into them and stuff, and it was like, I don't consider them movies. They're movies, but it wouldn't be something I would even consider within the cinematic scope. Maybe that makes me a bit of a movie snob, but it is what it is. I know people hate it when other people say that, but in this case, it really is what it is with me. So we're going to start off very soft. This is above level, like way above the surface, not even touching the tip of the iceberg. Halloween. I saw that when I was maybe 8 or 9 when I saw it, and that kind of fear that it instilled in me. And again, Halloween is one of my all-time favorite movies and my all-time favorite horror movie. And I know people are like, it's so light, it's so mild. Like, everybody loves Halloween, but I don't think anybody would say it was disturbing. You have to remember what it was like to be that age. And you have to remember what it was like. Because, there are little kids in that movie, and just think, looking at it through a child's eyes, pretty weird, pretty disturbing, Next, again, this is light. This is light. It's Friday the 13th. I saw that when I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, and you have to also consider I was a very sheltered child for the most part, except that I was able to watch horror movies. And Friday the 13th was just very disturbing to me as a little kid because, I was watching what looked to me like real murder, And again, get into the mindset of a young child and think, what does that look like to a young child? You know what I'm saying? As I got older, and particularly after I had Marshall, I started looking at Pamela Voorhees more as a hero. But because I get it. I got it. I get why she did it. I would not react the same way, I don't think, but you know, you never know until you're in that situation. You never know. You never know. Next is this is a recent movie, Evil Dead Rise. Um, and again, this is way above surface, so these are the less disturbing movies. Evil Dead Rise would definitely be in the disturbing realm. I mean, she eats the guy's eyeball out of his head. Spoiler alert. That's nasty. That's kind of gross. And some of the gore in it. And you know, I'm not a fan of gore, but sometimes gore is necessary. And I believe in this movie the gore was necessary because there's no way for these things to be accomplished without gore. And like when she first changes and she's walking out of the kitchen, that's kind of gross, you know. And I mean, people don't necessarily consider gross things disturbing things, but depending on what it is, I kind of do. And towards the end, when they all kind of join together and there's multiple arms, that's just a scary visual to me. That sat with me, you know. And The Conjuring, again, a light movie, but when we talk about way above surface level, I could put that on my disturbing list. Now, I am going to do another iceberg where it's just slasher films, and a lot of these movies on this list are going to make an appearance. It might look different order-wise, but I'm just deciding how I want to look at that. Because your iceberg is your own personal iceberg. It's your own personal feelings and how you see it. So do your own so you can see where movies lie within yours. And none of these movies may be on yours. But The Conjuring, yeah, because it's a family. As far as we know, it's a true story. Although I don't believe in hauntings like that. I believe there's a very logical reason for everything to happen. But that movie was very disturbing to me for two small scenes in particular. Not going to get into the reason why. When I do a standalone video on The Conjuring, maybe I'll mention that, but there are just two scenes in that really, 2 scenes, maybe a couple more. I love Patrick Wilson though. And next is the Amityville Horror. I didn't put a space between the and Amityville. That is going to haunt me worse than The Conjuring. But the Amityville Horror, the original one, not the one with Ryan Reynolds, although I do enjoy the one with Ryan Reynolds. But in the original one, again, I saw that when I was very, very young. And just imagine being very, very young and seeing this movie, or think of a young child watching this movie, how disturbing that might be. And I haven't watched that version in years. Now, in the way my mind works now, the Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds, I find that to be a lot scarier. But the original one is just more disturbing. Now, there is something about 60s and 70s cinema, especially horror, that I find unsettling, like underlyingly so. And that's just a thing across the board with that era of film. Like, I find Hammer films to be very disturbing in an indirect way. Like, you can't really pinpoint what it is that is disturbing about them. But there's something in the cinematography and everything that lends itself to a disturbing kind of vibe, you know. Although no Hammer movies have made this list. And then Insidious. That lipstick monster, he's just so creepy, and it's so just messing with other realms and stuff. It's just messing with me. It messes with me. Now, the next tier 2, now this is just touching the iceberg. Still above the surface, but touching the iceberg. And again, I know people are cringing, being like, why that movie? Why that movie? I just want you to imagine getting yourself in this headspace. And remember, again, I was very sheltered. And what made tier two? Now, this was originally on tier one, and I moved it to tier two because I felt it deserved a space there. Hello, Brian. These dogs are just loving on me. They want attention. I took y'all for a long car ride. I played with y'all. It's, I don't know what y'all want. I'm going to take a sip of my water because my throat's a little dry. Okay, next is Brian. A Nightmare on Elm Street. So again, that was on tier one, but I felt it deserved a spot in tier two for one reason only. That scene where he is coming down that alley with those big all long arms scares the shmugga out of me. It is so upsetting to me. And if you remember, if you haven't watched Elm Street in a while, the original one, Freddy wasn't scary yet. He wasn't scary yet. So he was the serious sleep demon, and it was scary. And imagine being 14 years old watching this movie. I know 14-year-olds now are a lot more sophisticated. Again, I was a little sheltered. And that movie was scary because it messed with dreams. And that is a very scary thing. That is getting into your psyche and like, wait, this movie is about dreams. I dream. It's something everyone does. You dream, you can't control your dreams. You can't control what you see in your dreams. I don't believe I have ever had a dream with Freddy Krueger in it, but it could happen. And that Freddy Krueger, the version in A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, I never want to meet that Freddy. The Freddy in the other movies, that would be fine because he was kind of funny, but you know, I've never had a dream that I can remember about Freddy. I've had plenty dreams about Michael Myers like characters, and I've had plenty dreams about Norman Bates. But yeah, I don't think Freddy's ever made an appearance in a dream. I know a lot of people in high school and stuff that be like, I had a dream with Freddy Krueger, but we were friends. A lot of people have said that. I'm like, you're just trying to sell a story that isn't there. But anyway, that's a common thing people say, and I don't understand why. Next in tier two is Sinister. Now, the first time I watched this movie, I didn't love it, but then I decided to give it a rewatch because there were audio issues and stuff, and I couldn't really hear it, and I watched it again. And the video footage in Sinister is so upsetting to me. It's so disturbing. It's so real. It's so gritty. And you hear the camera, like the sounds of the camera running. It's so real. It's as if you found this film footage and you're watching it yourself. And it's very upsetting. And it is disturbing. And I would even say Sinister might deserve to be on tier 3, but we're going to leave it on tier 2 for now. Someone said it's like the scariest movie ever made. I don't think that. It's a scary movie. Bagul is creepy. And it's a good movie, and I will watch it again and again, but disturbing, yes. Claustrophobic in a sense, depending on how you look at that term. And very scary. It's very scary, but I don't think it's the scariest movie ever made. I think the original Nightmare on Elm Street is scarier. Yeah. Next, I have on this list a movie that isn't really considered horror, but when I would see this in video stores, which came later because this movie came out right when video stores were starting to die down, but this was still in the video store. It was in the horror section. Hard Candy with Elliot Page and the adorable Patrick Wills. What are you doing? Come over here. Come here. Come here. Lay down. Let me do my job. But yeah, Hard Candy, it's kind of a disturbing movie in so many ways, you know, but there's one particular scene that's really upsetting. It's the last scene. I think it's like the last scene in the movie, and it's so upsetting to me. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. That movie really, really worked me over a little bit. I'll never watch it again. Excellent movie, but I'll never watch it again. One and done is good enough. Next, I'm going to go with Hereditary. Now, I didn't really like Hereditary when I first saw it, but as I thought about it and stuff, I was like, no, you know what? I think it was pretty good. it was a movie for me. It didn't deliver itself to me completely until I thought about it for a little while. But I would put that in tier 2. I've seen others put it in tier 3 or tier 4. I don't think it deserves to be there, because I do think it's a movie I can watch again and again. Even though I just said Hard Candy isn't something I'd watch again, it's still light. I think most people would have an easy time with Hard Candy. But Hereditary, but visually, but yeah. And then next, another Ari Aster film is Midsummer, because that movie is so bright and sunshiny, but so many upsetting things happen in it. So Midsummer is right there. Next is A House of a Thousand Corpses. I waited a long time for this movie to come out. There are some scenes I just don't ever want to see again, but I don't think Rob Zombie is the brilliant talent everyone else thinks he is, but I think that that's a really good scary movie. It is disturbing though, and it does deserve tier 2. Some people may think it deserves tier 3, but I think tier 2 is good. Next is Saw. Body horror and gore is really just doesn't do it for me as far as scary goes, but it does have a disturbing element. The way they have to get out of these traps and stuff, it's upsetting. And the way they tie the whole story together, it's just, this is something that can actually, not easily, but this can actually happen to anybody. And next is The Exorcist, because of the crucifix scene. I saw The Exorcist as I was jumping forth into womanhood, and I saw that scene, and when I saw that, I thought, is this movie allegory for us starting our period? People will argue with that because The Exorcist was originally based on a boy in England or something like that. I've heard varying stories about what it's based on, but when that was written, was that what he was imagining? Like, this is what girls are like. They're like possessed by Satan, and that's, you know, never mind. I'm getting too deep for people to understand. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I just sounded so freaking smug there. I didn't mean to. Next is Terrifier. The first one, as I could have sworn that I put Terrifier 2 on here also, but maybe I didn't. That may be one of the ones I had to take off to kind of shorten the list. But yeah, Terrifier, because Art the Clown is, you know, creepy. You know what I mean? And it is a disturbing movie. I do feel like the creators of Terrifier 2 really depend so much on the gore and not so much on the storytelling, and that's really bothersome to me. I don't love gore, but I don't mind it if it tells a story, and it doesn't really tell that much of a story. Okay, we get it. The guy's a sicko. We get it. Next, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I thought maybe tier 3 or even tier 4 for this movie because I was very young when I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the first time, and I remember being like, oh, and not disturbed by blood and guts, because if you remember, it really isn't that bloody and gutty visually, and because it's so gritty looking and dirty and filthy, you can almost smell it, and it's just such a grossly disturbing movie. And it's not forced. It's made almost like a snuff film. And next, Hellraiser, with the original one. Again, I'm very young when I saw that, and it was upsetting to me because it's just so they're just so unbridled. It was just mixing passion and pleasure into a pain. It had to come from a place of pain to be real, and that uh, whole idea is so upsetting and disturbing to me. It's hard to explain, but it is. And next was In the Mouth of Madness. That makes it here because of the kid on the bicycle. If you know, you know. That scene is so disturbing to me, and I just find that movie a total mind. And now we're on to tier 3, and I've got to hurry because this video is going to be too long. Incident in a Ghostland or Ghostland. Possessed by Horror also had this on her list. I don't remember where she had it placed, but that movie is so, it's visceral, the word I'm looking for. It could happen, and it kind of jumps a little bit from the future to the past to the future that wasn't, and it's just so again very upsetting. You're there with them. You're there with them in this movie. It's a very well done film. Highly recommend it if you're a horror fan and you haven't watched it yet, or even if you're someone that likes thrillers, not necessarily horror. Give it a watch. It'll stay with you. And next is The Evil Dead. Again, I saw this the same night I saw A Nightmare on Elm Street, and that may have something to do with it being put on here. Um, and I know people look back on The Evil Dead now and see it as campy and silly and ridiculous, because I'm talking about the original one. The remake was terrifying with no silliness, but the original, I think the silliness and campiness kind of lent itself to the disturbing quality. Next, it's a movie I do not like, but I did like the first one mainly because Ethan Hawke is in it as the Purge. Again, it's how far off are we from the Purge being a thing? So yeah, the Purge. It was disturbing, you know. I think it was. And next, Megan is Missing. Again, I find found footage disturbing anyway. I love found footage movies, so. But Megan is Missing is so disturbing because they're little girls. I mean, I know we look at them, they're teenagers, they're young women, but in my mind, in my mother's mind, they're little girls, you know. And it's not even the abduction and the things like that that happen. It's what these girls are doing with their lives, you know, like the party scene. And I'm like, really? Really, ladies? This is how you want to behave? Okay, and next is Tusk. I don't think I really need to tell anybody why that movie is disturbing. Brilliant movie. It's beautifully made. Um, in my opinion, it's so sad. And when a horror movie can bring out sorrow in me, that's disturbing. Next is Silent House. Not a great movie, but once I realized what was happening in the movie, I realized that this is upsetting, you know. Very disturbing movie. If you haven't seen it, maybe give it a watch, but it's not the greatest movie ever made. Day of the Dead 1985 is the last movie on tier 3. Just because, you know, you're going to have if you're going to have zombies, you're going to have gore. So, yeah, that gore was necessary. It was very disturbing to me. And next, we're on to 1, 2, 3, 4, tier 4, the Poughkeepsie tapes. That movie is so intense to me. It's found footage. It's very disturbing, upsetting footage. It feels very real. You almost think like, did this really happen there? And they've just compiled this all together for us to see in this movie. And I know that's kind of what all found footage movies try to do. The Poughkeepsie tapes, along with Lake Mungo, did a great job at making you feel like, did this really happen? And we're just hearing about it now, you know? Next, Last House on the Left, the original. I had tried to avoid that movie for years. I would see it at video stores and stuff, and I would hold it and I'd be like, do I want to rent it? Because a lot of times in Marshall, or when Eric was out of town and we lived in Virginia, I would walk across the street to this cute little video store, and pick out a few horror movies to watch alone. And I would always pick up Last House on the Left and then be like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And I would put it back and just never really, it just kind of kept myself from watching it for a long time. And then I watched it maybe about 2000, 2001. And I was like, I'm glad I avoided this movie. I'm really glad that I avoided this movie as long as I did. I probably should have just kept avoiding it. But it's a good movie. It's not respectably made, but it's a good movie. Brian's licking my ankles. But it is very upsetting. It's a very disturbing movie. But great revenge, I guess. I Spit on Your Grave, again, that is an upsetting movie for reasons that are obvious if you know what the movie is about. But the revenge she gets almost makes it worth it. But yeah, it made Tier 4 mainly because of the scene that caused her to want to get the revenge. Because it's just so gritty and unforgiving. And next, Hostel and Hostel 2 are both on this list. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's weak, that's pathetic. But those movies are truly disturbing to me. Again, I get in the mind of a mother and I just imagine my kid being in another country and just disappears. I'm going to wonder what's happening. Did these sick people in this club torture him to death or something? And it's just, they show these things and, these are people someone cares about and are going to be missed, and it's just awful. Eden Lake, I wonder, did I really think Eden Lake deserved to be in Tier 4? Maybe it's more of a Tier 3 movie. But just the way it ends, you just left kind of wondering. And yeah, I really worried at the end about Kelly Riley's character. But it's just, yeah, Eden Lake is there. And next is 2021's The Sadness. That movie is just, it's almost like an unrequited love story if you look at it, if you pull apart the layers. But it's, that movie's just really upsetting. Not even because of gore or anything, just because, these people are just minding their own business and then all of a sudden get stricken. It's awful. My foot's going to sleep. And next is Dead Girl, I think 2008, not the Brittany Murphy one, although that's a brilliant drama movie, not that one. That movie is just so messed up. Like, these boys are just... So Dead Girl. And then next, this was like kind of a last second ad. A last second edition is Antrim. And it got Tier 4 because I'm just watching this movie and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then when I figure out what's going on, it's like, this is messed up. It's just, Antrim is disturbing. It's disturbing. Watch it. It's a good movie. A lot of people won't watch it because they think the curse is real or something, but it's not. Now we're on to Tier 5. The rest of this list is going to go by fast. I'm sorry this is taking so long. Tier 5, A Clockwork Orange. I watched that when I was 11 years old when I was specifically told not to watch it. Again, get in the mind of an 11-year-old and imagine watching this movie. An 11-year-old from 1981, not an 11-year-old today. An 11-year-old from 1981 sitting there watching this movie. Maybe I was a little older. I don't know. It depends on when A Clockwork Orange came out. But, oh, that movie messed with me. It is a great movie. I highly recommend it. I will watch it again if I'm ever offered the chance. I'm sure it's available on one of my streaming services right now as I speak, but I just Haven't gotten around to it. But it's a very upsetting film, but it's brilliant. And next is The House That Jack Built. That movie is disturbing to me because it's Matt Dillon doing these things. My precious Matt Dillon. Dallas? No. But yeah, The House That Jack Built. That movie was brave because they didn't care who they killed off in that movie. It's a great movie. Well acted, wonderfully written. It is a great movie. It gets a little weird like the last half hour or so. It is kind of a long movie for what it is, but that's a great movie, but it is disturbing. The Human Centipede 2. The Human Centipede, the first one, I didn't really find so much disturbing as I just found kind of like, just kind of weird, but like whatever. But Human Centipede 2, because it's so gritty, you know, that grittiness really, that gritty cinematography really delivers a message to me, you know. And now we're going to move on to tier 6, and only 2 movies. A Serbian film, which I'm not going to get into why it's disturbing. You can pretty much pick most scenes from it and know. And then next is a movie not so much considered horror, but because of how it made me feel, I'm going to say it was horror. It's a disgusting, despicable movie, and I will never watch it again. It's a film called Vulgar, by the Clark's guy, God, Kevin Smith. I will never watch Vulgar again. It disgusted me. It made me very uncomfortable, and I don't want anything to do with that movie ever again. You know, I wouldn't even have anything to do with Kevin Smith after I first saw that movie. I hate that movie. Um, it is very upsetting and gross, and just, it disgusted me. That movie disgusted me. And tier 7, a foreign film called Trauma. I just watched it on Tubi because I was looking for something to watch, and I was like, I turned it off a couple times, and I'm like, nope. I made a promise to myself: if I start a movie, I'm gonna finish it. Now, if I start a movie and I'm watching it and it's so dull it's making me fall asleep, then I'll turn it off. But if I just want to turn it off because it's upsetting to me or disturbing, I'm gonna see it through to the end because I have to at that point. Because I've already seen what can't be unseen, so I may as well go ahead and watch it. This movie is so upsetting. It's another one and done. I will never watch this movie again, and I wouldn't even recommend it really. And not because it wasn't well made, because it is, but it is just so, in my opinion, unnecessary to show that much in a movie. You know what I mean? And I'm just, I'm weak. And then also on tier 7, this is the last movie, a movie called Irreversible, because these things happen every day, and it can easily happen to anybody at any time. And I think I think it's a brilliant movie, but it's another one and done for me. It's so upsetting. The RAPE scene is so long and so real and so mean. It's just, it is a hard watch. But yeah, that is my list. That is my iceberg. And again, you don't have to agree with it. You could be sitting there like, I can't believe it, and scoffing. But I'm only going to take movies I consider to be real movies. I'm not going to look at Wendy Sucks Cum and Dies in Hell. I'm not going to look at a movie like that and take it seriously. This is only for movies I take seriously. So anyway, I'm sorry about that disgusting title I gave, but it's a real title, and I wanted to just express how I'm not going to acknowledge movies that I don't consider real movies or that I don't take seriously. And on the original iceberg, or several of the icebergs I've seen, a lot of the tier 4, 5, and 6 movies I would never take seriously enough to even consider them on any list of mine, probably even a most hated list. But anyway, that's it for this video. I'm sorry it took so long. I just get chatty when it comes to movies. But I will talk to everyone later. Thanks so much. Bye.